This is the Out in Front podcast. I'm your host. Call me whatever. I'm just a man. So today we are looking at brain to computer interfaces in this wearables phase that we are in now, and some of the new laws that are being passed in multiple states around companies' right to sell your brain data and how that should be marketed moving forward. This is a reaction video to Dr. Cody, an MD, who has done work with the U.S. Navy and knows a little bit about this technology. He's been using brain to computer interfaces for years. We're not even talking like Neuralink. We're talking just the wearables phase that we're in now. There are devices that are being pushed out to market that will allow you to control your computers, control your devices, do text to speech, and other types of things with just the power of your thought. We're moving into the Orwellian phase of this Agenda 2030 and World Economic Forum led Great Reset / Fourth Industrial Revolution. So I'll stop along the way and make some notes and ask some questions for you to consider and ponder. But without further ado, let's dive right in.
I'm Dr. Cody, and I'm going to give you a really unique perspective as we watch this CBS News story together on Colorado passing a law against these brain devices over privacy concerns for its users. I'm a U.S. Navy trained psychiatrist, and I've been working with this brain tech for over 10 years now, and basically know all the people behind the development of this technology, and I'm really surprised how they're framing the brain wearable device industry in this video. I'll give you some behind the scenes information about how powerful this technology is really getting, what big tech is doing about it, and if we should be concerned about this new law that aims to protect your brain data.
Advances in artificial intelligence are leading to medical breakthroughs once thought impossible, including devices that can actually read minds and alter our brains to help treat conditions like anxiety, Alzheimer's.
But that technology raises privacy concerns. That's why Colorado passed a first of its kind law aimed at ensuring our private thoughts remain private.
It's not just Colorado either. California and Minnesota are putting up similar bills as well.
Your political reporter Sean Boyd joins us live from the Capitol tonight.
Sean, this is really mind-blowing even to think about. Who has access to this technology?
You know, Karen, everyone, believe it or not. You can buy devices on the internet right now that can, to varying degrees, decode your brain waves. And the technology being developed by the likes of Elon Musk, Apple, Meta, and OpenAI can change, enhance, and control your thoughts, emotions, even your memories. It's the dawn of a new era filled with promise and peril.
Before we get to the rest of the breakdown, let's just do a little bit of a recap here. So we have 3 states passing laws about what has to happen with your brain data. This is not sci-fi, this is actually happening. But before we go any further into this deep dive, let's remind you of what 2 key influential people who are meeting with governments have to say, both about brain-to-computer interfaces, microchip implants, and sensors being implanted underneath our skin for biometric surveillance. If you think I'm lying, check it out.
COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin, their body temperature. Like we walked in here, we had to go through a body temperature test. Now they're using it to see whether you have the coronavirus. But exactly the same technology can determine what you think about the government. You know, anger is a biological phenomena just like disease. It's not some spiritual thing out there. It's a biological pattern in your body. With this kind of surveillance, I mean, you watch the big president, the big leader, gives a speech on television. The television could be monitoring you and knowing whether you're angry or not, just by analyzing the cues, the biological cues coming from your body. Are you angry about what you hear? Are you frightened? Are you bored? This is the kind of power that Stalin didn't have. You know, when Stalin gave a speech, everybody, of course, clapped their hand and smiled. Now, how do you know what they really think about Stalin? It's very difficult. You can't have a KGB agent following everybody all the time. Even if you do it, he's just watching your outside behavior. He doesn't really know what's happening in your mind. But in 10 years, the future Stalins of the 21st century, they could be watching the minds, the brains of all the population all the time. And also they will have the computing power to analyze all that. You know, it's not just having an agent following everybody all the time. The agent in Stalin's days writes a paper report, and you have these millions of paper reports piling up in Moscow. Somebody needs to read them, to analyze them. That's impossible. Now you don't need human agents. You don't need human analyzers. You just have a lot of sensors and an AI which analyzes it, and that's it. You have the worst totalitarian regime in history. And COVID is important because COVID legitimizes some of the crucial steps, even in democratic countries.
Very fast. But can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains, and I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants, and we measure your brain waves, and I can immediately tell you how the people react, or I can feel how the people react to your answers. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, the future is already here. The future has begun. It's a new system. It changes us, because it's a fusion of our physical, digital, and biological spheres. It's an integration of those spheres. Just think of sensors planted into our brains. The opportunities are immense, and we have to prepare ourselves already now.
All right, so Neuralink had their first human patient this year. Apple filed a patent to potentially put brainwave sensors into their earpods. Even recently as last month, I've seen tech giants like Apple basically stealing employees away from these smaller neurotech companies to work on their own stealth brain-computer interface projects, which is totally wild. I myself have had calls with Samsung. I know Meta has several projects under the works. And the Sam Altman OpenAI project is very stealth right now, but there are rumors that they're looking into ultrasound tech for brain-computer interface. And I'm actually pretty familiar with that tech. Last summer, I went to a lab where they did an MRI brain scan and then specifically pulsed my caudate with ultrasound during a meditation session and made me incredibly euphoric during the experience. And those ultrasound pucks can be fit into a wearable at some point, so it is possible that we could get mood enhancement from a wearable like that.
Anything you wanted to do, you can move your computer with your mind and you can control it with your mind using this device.
If you think telepathy or mind control is the stuff of science fiction, think again.
This is kind of like the first consumer-grade brain-computer interface that anyone can have, and anyone can control their computer using this technology.
It's called neurotechnology, and neurologist Sean Pazowski at UC Health says it's revolutionizing healthcare, enabling people who can't move or speak to do what was previously thought impossible, communicate with just a thought or expression.
It's called neurotechnology. One of the use cases for a neurotech like this emotive epoch would be to be able to move a mouse cursor on a screen without using your hands and just your mind alone. It's actually quite difficult to do that with a device like this. It's trying to pick up very minute brain signals off of your scalp. It can be done, but it's actually easier to pick up eye and facial movements a lot because your muscles produce electrical signals as well. You can actually see him on this report moving his eyes back and forth, and I think that he's doing some controls with his eyes. But there are algorithms that you can train by imagining that you're biting into a lemon or trying to move your left hand. I've found responses like that to be quite difficult to train and highly variable and way less reliable than implantable devices like Neuralink. They just had their first Neuralink patient, Nolan Arbaugh, go on Joe Rogan and talk about how when he wants to move the mouse cursor, it actually sometimes even moves before he makes the conscious decision, like it's at precognition level.
Sometimes it's so good that it's moving before I even
we'll cut this episode short for sake of time. I want to keep it just to about 10 minutes or slightly after. And he was just saying that sometimes his Neuralink implant works so well that even before or right before he's getting ready to think that he wants to move the cursor will already start moving, as if the system has learned him so well that it actually knows his next move. And this, my friends, is the direction of the world we're heading in. We'll have to make some very important decisions in the years to come. Thanks for tuning in to the Out in Front podcast.